Hi everyone, so today I'm going to do a painting of a lighthouse that is very near to my family's home. It's a gorgeous place and we used to spend a lot of time there when I was a kid. It's called Point Lonsdale Lighthouse, Queenscliff, Victoria. We used to holiday every holiday there, or down near there anyway. And yeah, it's one of my favourite childhood memories. Is going down to this beautiful beach. So I thought, I saw a painting pop up in my memories on Facebook the other day, a pastel that I'd done. And I thought, I don't think I've done it in acrylic, so I thought, you know what, I'm going to have a go and do it in acrylic. So here we are, doing it in acrylic. So I'm just going to rough in the basic shapes of what it's like. Get these little get the metal light in. So this is just I can change the shapes as I go because it's acrylic, so I can paint over everything anyway. If I'm not 100% happy with it, I can paint over things. So there's like a beacony thing there. Alright, so then it comes down to here, and I'm going to do a stormy sky, because stormy skies and lighthouses are fun. So I thought I'll have a go at that. And then there's a big rock cliff that comes out and down the front onto the beach, and you can walk down to the beach via a ladder thing that comes down here, which I won't draw in just yet. And then you've got the other bits that go off into the ocean. And then there's a sandy beach that comes sort of back here. And then all of this is going to be ocean. You can see the ocean sort of coming behind there. And I'll do waves coming in and a big sky. I want a big stormy sky. That's the plan anyway. So I'll worry about all of that in a little bit. I won't do that just yet. I'll do the stairs going down. I'll just mark where they're going to be. They come down like that to the beach. Like that. Okay, that'll do. That'll actually do. So now I'm going to go in, wet all my paints, have a sip of my coffee, because I need a sip of my coffee, and we're going to start with the sky. So I've got my palette here, my disposable palette. I'm going to grab a piece of cloth that I always have just out of reach, because that's just how I roll. And I'm going to get in with a big brush, one of my bigger brushes, and I'm going to mix up a blue and a white. I'm going to go ultramarine blue and white, and I'm just going to whack that onto the sky. Not worrying about directions as yet. Oh, I've got to open up my drying slower downer. Can't open the lid, hang on. There we go, got it. Instead of water, I'll use that because it'll slow the drying time of the acrylic and I can move it around a little bit. Alright. I'll cut around the lighthouse. I don't have to because I can paint over it anyway. But it's just, I sort of want to see, still have a guide of where I've drawn it. So come down here. It doesn't matter if I go over it a little bit because it's all good. So I'm just going to fill in this background like that. I can cut around the cliff a little bit because it'll be darker anyway. I can go up to the water. And I'm just going to work on the sky for now. I've got actually some old makeup brushes that I'm going to use to try and see if I can smooth whatever I've done with them. There they are. Because I don't wear makeup much. So I thought, you know what, I might as well use them for this and see if I can smooth. Oh, they're still in their packaging, hang on. I haven't even taken them out of their packaging. There we go. And see if I can blend how I go. Oh, look at that. Lovely. Okay, so while it's still wet, I can blend those strokes because I don't want to see all those brush strokes. So just use an old really soft makeup brush. You can see a bit I missed there. Really old makeup brush that I've used that, yep, I'll never use for my face. So I'm going to get some more blue, some more white. Whoops, I was meant to put that on there, but anyway, it doesn't matter. And I'll just blend that out with my makeup brush. Go over the top, get a bit more of my stuff on my brush, and go back over again. I can come right down to the ocean this time, like that. And because I've got the drying retarder, which slows down the drying time, I will be able. It won't dry on the canvas very quick, so I can still move it around with my old makeup brush. Oh, I like that. I like how smooth that looks. I do like that. Okay. So, get down like that, doing crisscrosses. Okay, so that's pretty good. I'm going to start on some stormy bits now, so I'm going to make a purple. So I'm going to use a bit of blue again, and I'm going to go a bit, I think this is alizarin crimson. It's a darker sort of, I need a bit more blue in there. A bit more blue. There we go. I need a bit of a darker purple like that for these stormy bits. And I'm just going to blob them in around behind the lighthouse, going up to the top. I want this to be a stormy, stormy, stormy sky. Now I'm going to get my makeup brush again and just soften those out like that. Blend them in, the rest of the sky, and I'll add white around the bottom eventually. But for now, I'm just going to do that with my big brush and then get my makeup brush. Just a beautiful soft, you could probably use any makeup brush if you've got a spare one that you don't use anymore. And while it's still wet, you can brush that out and soften it. I'm going to try this with animal fur as well, because I reckon this would be really good for softening up animal fur. Okay, come down, blend all that. That's looking pretty cool. I'm pretty happy with that. I am going to go down here and take it back closer to the lighthouse. I'll go over the lighthouse so it doesn't look like I've cut around it. There we go, because I can still see the line. And now I'm going to go an even darker blue. I think that's a blue-grey. Let's have a look. That's a very dark blue. That's a beautiful blue. That's a stormy blue if ever I saw one. So I'm going to pop that in up here at the top. So I'm just working on one thing at a time, just for fun. Get that. I go to art class, wildlife art class on a Thursday, and my instructor is a fantastic, one of the best instructors. And he was saying, Jen, just focus on one part at a time, because I tend to jump all over the place. So I'm focusing on one part at a time. And I'm going to add this beautiful blue onto here. I'm just going to work on the sky till I'm happy with the sky. Get my makeup brush and just soften it like that, so I don't get hard strokes. Looking cool. And you want your darkest darks against your lightest light. So my darkest darks will actually be against the lighthouse. So I want that to be very dark here. And I'll bring that down that side actually as well. So there's a big, like a thundery head coming in there. I'll take it down to the ground level there. And the clouds up high are big, and into the distance they get smaller. So, but I'll do some white clouds or some white peeping through under the bottom in a minute. I'm just going to try and brush out these edges, soften these edges a little bit while that's still a little bit wet. I didn't get to it in time, but that's okay. All right, now I'm going to go in some white. Go in with a little bit of white and pop. Oh, I've got a big goop. I've got a goop. No, I've got to get rid of my goop. Hang on. There's a gooby. I've got to get that icky bit. There we go. There we go. That was a bit too much on there. So I just grabbed a bit of brush and a bit of paper and picked that up. Grab my makeup brush and blend. Whoops, maybe I shouldn't have blended it like that. But anyway, we'll soften it. And I can actually make that look like, I've just realised I could make that look like rain. So it's going to very gently, maybe not so much. come down under here. And I've got a few different size makeup brushes, so maybe I'll try a smaller one as well. I could make that look like rain. If I brush that down, let's try that. If I brush that down, so smaller clouds to the distance, larger clouds at the front. And I'm just going to go to the bottom of that one, come over my lighthouse a little bit, come up here, and just brush it in a downward, as if it's raining, like that. Oh, there you go, look at that. That creates like a rainy effect, doesn't it? I'm just going to grab a little bit of water onto my brush, just a little bit. We'll see how that goes. And I'm just going to soften all of that again a little bit. I'm going to go over it again with the purple because I've lost a bit of my purple. I went a bit mad before. And I got a bit ahead of myself and put in a bit too much white, but that's okay. You live and learn. So I'm going to grab a bit more of that beautiful dark blue and pop in. And it is blending with that white and paling up a little bit. So take that down like that. Now I'll get a littler brush, so I've got a littler one. I'll try and soften that with my littler one. That's a bit better for this size of canvas, I think. There we go, and soften that. Alright, I'm going to join that cloud because it looks a bit strange. And I'm going to work on the clouds until I'm happy. Get some real dark skies going in here. Coming around the lighthouse. Some real dark up there. Might even take it across the top of the sky. Get my little fluffy brush, little makeup brush, and brush that down and blend it like that. Alright, it's looking stormy. We're getting there. It's looking stormy. That's what I want. The sky's a little bit more pale in the background. I can blend that bit there. Oh, it's still a little bit. Blend that. Like that. Oops, I've got a bit of stuff on my. Mix a bit of the purples and blend that. Soften it. There we go. Pretty happy with that, I think. It's looking like a stormy sky. I'll try to pop a touch of white back in there because down here I'll put some light at the top, sort of, just so there's little bits of light reflecting in, and I'll very gently, not be so rough, blend those down. Not be quite so heavy-handed as I was before. Blend that in. I'm just going to go in circles actually around that, and just so it's not quite so liney looking. Just go in little circles. Oh, I like that. Okay, so I'm sort of fiddling and figuring things out as I go. I like that a lot. I like that a lot. Okay, and I'm using golden acrylics because they are my favourite. I've got a mixture of Atelier and golden, but I tend to seem to be going back to the golden. So now I'm going to do the ocean, and because it's a stormy sky, the sea's really dark. So I'm actually going to use the same sky colour that I put in before. So I'm just going to come along, grab a little bit of that drying retarder, and I'm going to take it right across. And it's going to get paler towards the front, so I'll just add a touch of white to it, just a little bit, coming towards the front. And I'm going to do some waves over the top so you won't even really see this undercoat. I'll do the sea coming right around because I want to. I'll just make it as if I'm standing in the ocean a little bit from this angle. Got to get that onto there. Drag that right out. Right, now I'm just going to brush over it with my old makeup brush. Get a bit of that spread out like that. I've got to get right to the bottom of this bit of canvas there, like that. There we go. Okay, now I'm going to go even darker. Get some pure pigment. I'm going to add a bit of brown to it, make it grey. Because the sea does go grey. Stormy seas do tend to go grey. Because everything's all roughed up. I've got to try and get a straight line. There we go. I don't want a wonky horizon. We need our horizon to be flat. I think I've got it a little bit wonky, just a little bit. But if I keep lifting it, I'll end up with the sea too high. So I'm going to do that. That'll do. That's good. Happy with that. I can straighten that with sky colour anyway. So go over it with my makeup brush. Clean my brush. Get all the paint out of it. Alright, let's have a look. So, there are waves at the front. I'm actually going to add a little bit of cobalt blue. I'm going to go back into that sky. Just down here. On that line. I'm going to add a little bit of white to that too, maybe. Try and get that horizon line straight again. There we go. Because that'll blend back, and then I'm going to go over it with my makeup brush. I'll blend it. No, I don't want to blend the wavy bits, I just want to blend that top bit. There we go. Actually, that looks like it's got mist on the horizon, so I'm going to go a bit of white and take those sort of greyish stormy clouds right down to the water level. Like that. And very gently brush them down like that. And I can go back over the water again in a minute. Okay, I don't know what. Okay, I'm just going to create some more clouds, some little ones. Coming down. Blend. Like that. Okay, now I'm happier. That looks better. That looks better. And I can just swirl those around, do little circly motions like that. Okay. Get a bit more. I'll get some pure white in on the end, at the end. I'm going to grab a slightly smaller brush now. And I'm going to pop some water, some white, onto the waves on this. So I'm going to have the waves coming across the front of the lighthouse here. Get some pure white. That, so they're bigger at the front. And they get smaller into the distance. And then they're just tiny little dots in the distance. But I'll do these front ones first. So these decent ones are curling over here at the front. Like that. And then in the background they're just little dots. Just little, these ones are curling. They're proper stormy, rippy seas. Like that. Then in the distance they're just little dots. Like that. Little white caps and little flecks. I let the canvas just take a few of those little dots for me, like that. There we go. And we have pretty much a rough sea. So I'm going to go back into my lighthouse. I'm going to get some pure white on my paper. And I'm going to tidy up everywhere that I've made a bit of a mess and gone over my lighthouse. And I'm just going to block him back in with white. Like that. I'm going to block that shape back in again. Just like that. It's a little bit off-white, but that's okay. Block him in. Okay. And then I'm going to come, the top of the lighthouse is a different colour, but I'm just blocking it all in white because that's just going to work for me. And I'll add more detail in just a minute. I'm going to go back into this sky next to it and just because I've got a few little bits that aren't looking right, so I've just got to tidy those up, get my blending brush again, just blend the edges, just there, do circles, 2 little circles. I can tidy that up in a minute. Alright, now, so I've just got that blocked in. Let it dry a little bit, I think. I'll just, yeah, I'll let it dry a little bit, but I'll get onto the cliff face. So the cliff is grey. So I'm going to go a bit of brown, a bit of blue, makes a lovely grey. And I'm going to just block in this cliff because it goes down like that. Like that. And then there's another little cliffy bit there. It sort of goes down out into the water a bit, but I'll just block that in like that. Doesn't have to be exactly like real life. It's fun to sometimes just do your own thing. And this is all grass and sand. So for the sand, I'm just going to leave that like that, let it dry a little bit. So the sand is a bit of yellow ochre, and a bit of white, I reckon. Bit of yellow ochre, a bit of white. It's a good sort of sandy colour. And I'm just going to take that down here. Like that. I'll change that a bit as I go. I'm just blocking in the sea area. Going down to the water, and I'll take that right back. So the sand sort of goes up towards the lighthouse a little bit. And then the rest of it's scrub, like saltbush and stuff like that. It lives down near the beach, which is always handy. So I'm going to go over the edge of that now with a bit of blue. Get a bit of blue. I'm just going to take that up sort of just to the edge. Might try, see if I can soften that back up towards the lighthouse like that. Okay, that's worked, that's softened it. I don't mind the mountains, the rocky bit looking lumpy. There we go. So I just take that up because I'm going to cover all that in grass. Oops, all that in grass anyway. So that doesn't even matter having that bit of brown on there. Like that. So I'm happy with that. I'm going to grab a bit of white. Just lighten up down here a little bit. Closest to the edge of the water. Because that's like, it's all sort of flowing up. The water's sort of washing up a little bit. To that edge of the sand. Okay. I'll figure out what I'm going to do with that in just a minute. I think I need to do some waves, just like that, bringing them around. Like that maybe. That helped. Okay, I like that. That's better. Just bringing them more around. Okay, now I'm going to get into the greens on the bank there. So go over onto my palette up here, get a bit of green, just a bit of light green to start with, because there's all shrubbery coming down here, and onto this bit. So get a few different greens. So go add a bit of brown to get a bit of that green, a bit of a darker green. There's a lovely dark green up there. I'll use that one. And I'm just going to plop in, just roughly, because the bushes are rough. Pop a bit of green on that side as well. Down here. So it's starting to come together. I'm going to add a bit of brown to the green. So I'm going to add a bit of green, a bit of brown, just to brown it off, because in Australia our grasses are quite brown. They have lots of brown through them. And it's stormy too, so they're not going to be bright and looking terribly fresh and lovely. They're going to be wet and stormy. So I'll do that. There we go. All right. And I'll give down at the bottom a little bit of this gold ochre. Get a bit of gold ochre. Just where the sand meets. Like that. It's a little bit yellowish. I'm going to pop a little bit of that gold in. It helps. I can see a little bit of gold throughout. Just like that. Good old Aussie, green and gold. Clean my brush. And go back into these rocks. And I'm going to go in with a grey, a blue grey. Oh, that's not the brush. Hang on. Grab a bit of dark, bit of white. Pop a bit of white with it. Bit more white with it. There we go, there's a grey. And I'm gonna, oh, that's a greeny grey. I want to go dark, almost a blacky grey. So I'm gonna go a bit of black, bit of white, just a touch. And I'm gonna take that down the bottom of that cliffy bit, because that's all dark there. And then that little one, same. And you can see little lines connecting them sort of, and it goes out into the water like that. So I'm going to get a really super, actually I can go in at the end with the super duper fine brush. I'm going to grab a bit of burnt umber and just plop in the top of that cliff. And I'm also going to get a bit of red sienna, a bit of that reddish colour, and pop that in as well, just to create some interest and a little bit of a lift of colour. Alright, I'm going to add some whites. So I'm going to grab my fine brush, if I can find it, there we go. My really fine brush, because there's lines in the rocks, and I'll make them a grey, but I'll go up. Get a bit of white, dip it into that, whoops, the edge of that, there we go. And I'm just going to take that down here and just draw a few little lines, because you can see little streaks of light hitting the edges of rocks. So I'll just pop those in there like that. Awesome. Okay, I'm happy with that, I think. I might even just leave that as that is. I've got to get back to this sand. Sand's driving me crazy. So I'm going to go a bit of yellow. Oops. A bit of white. That's definitely a bit muddy looking. Clean my brush again. A bit more white in there. Might go even try a bit of pure yellow ochre. Clean my brush properly. Get all the excess out of it. Dip my brush into the yellow ochre. And now take that down. A bit more white in there. There we go. And I might just blot that rather than stroking it. Just blop it, because sand is sort of rough. Okay. Okay, that's a bit better. And I'll do a white line when it dries around that edge where the water sort of rushes up onto the sand. You get a little, you know how you get a little white lip of water. Just a little. I'm just going to strengthen up these big curlers over here, these big white caps. Give them a bit of streakiness so they look like crashing waves. So you do them in a downward stroke, like that. Do the one in front of it, and then it can taper off into a broken wave, like that. All right. All right. I'm just going to clean my brush and just drag that down a bit. Just blop that around the edge. All right. Now, get back onto the lighthouse for a little bit. So go into my pure white. Go into my pure white, because that's dried now, so I'll be able to get pure white. Now there's a little outcroppy bit there, like that. And then I'm going to follow this left hand side of the lighthouse down to the base, like that, because it'll be lighter on one side. Okay, then this bottom of this building is all white. It's all bright white, but I'm gonna, and it's a hexagonal shape, this one, so, which is really quite lovely. So I'm gonna just mark in basically the little hexagonal sort of shape. Okay, I'm happy with that. And now I'm gonna, the top part is green, so I'm going to grab a thinner brush, not a terribly thin one, but a thinner one than I had. Maybe that one. Okay, clean it and grab a dark green, or one of my greens. That's too light. Grab this dark green. Yep, that green, because the top of the lighthouse is actually green, or it looks green in this light. So I'm going to pop that in. Or it's a blue, a funny blue. That's alright. That will do the desired job. I could probably almost even go with that really super dark blue. Alright. Let that dry a little bit. I think I've got to get some more pure white on there. Get a bit more pure white on there. Come down the front here. Less water, I've got a bit of water in there, less water. Okay. Let that dry for a second. Might go back onto the sand for a little bit. There's little rocky bits, little clear white bits and little... I'll grab my little brush, my little blender, where I'll put it? There. Little blender. And just circle those, just soften those little lines, those little bits I just put on the sand, because the sand's not the focus, the lighthouse is the focus. Alright. Let's have a look. So I am going to go over the top of that little building here. I'm going to add a little white cap there, or a little dark cap, sorry, it's got a little defined bit like that. A little bit on top. There we go. And then you can see that. Clean my brush. I'll add some highlights to that in a minute. I'll add a bit of the sky colour into the windows, into there. Alright, so I'm going to add a shadow colour. So I'm going to go this same, if I can get that off there, off the palette, a bit of the same sky colour for the shadows around that capping piece. Just got to get that line back there. Very gently. There we go. There's a little blob that I've got to get right there without it spread. There we go, got it. Okay. So go back into this pre-mixed purple that I've got on the page, on my palette, and pop that in. So I'm starting to add shadowy bits. Come right down the front of the lighthouse. I might even use this blue all the way, so I'm going to go hexagonal shape. So one line there, one line there, one line sort of coming down that way. Get a bit of that slowy, dry stuff on my brush. Not quite so much. Like that. Just suggest it. And go into that window. I'll let it dry a little bit. It's not dry enough. And then there's like a little veranda-y area around the edge, which I will tidy up in a minute. I'm going to take that shadow. I'm going to damp that off. Damp my oh, that was close. Get a bit of water off there. Had a bit of water on my brush from washing it. I'm going to shadow down there because that's all in shadow. So do that with my super duper fine brush because it's a little painting. Okay, I'm happy with that. There's windows in there. I will add those as well. I'll take this shadow colour down this face of the lighthouse. Blend it. I'll get a bit of water on my brush, dry it, and just try and carefully blend that back to the lighthouse. I might take it sideways actually. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to try and do it with a little blending brush. Very carefully blend that side shadow. That's better. Alright, I'm happy with that. Happier with that. Just do that. There we go. I'll add a little bit more light back to this outer side. Actually, I've got to add that shadow too, also, to there. And make it super strong. Down there. Okay, that's alright. I'm happy with that. Come down to this bit. Alright. I'm going to get that darker colour. Where is it? That one. And I'm going to pop that door back, or that window. There. And there's also, I forgot, this little bit, there's an extremity bit that holds all wiring and goodness knows what else that the lighthouse needs. Sort of radio towers and things like that, I suppose, for communicating with boats. So that comes down there like that, and probably a weather station. I would think it would have a weather station on it. There's a little bit that goes up there. There we go, and now I've got to do these little windows in. So I'm going to go back to my shadow colours that I've got on my paper, and this is the very, very finest tip of my brush to take that around those edges of the windows. And there's a little veranda-y thing that goes there. I'll make that a little bit darker, make that a little bit darker. I can darken up under that little thing that's holding the weather thing. Okay. Do these little veranda-y bits. Alright, I'm kind of happy with that, I think. That's pretty cool. Alright. I am going to stand back and have a look. I'm quite happy with that. I'm going to add a little bit. I'm going to try and get this white around the edge of the water right. So I'm just going to follow around like that. Oops. And just get that like little wavy bits coming around there. Oops, and that's too wet. Had too much water on that, but that's okay. I'll just dab it up with my cloth. Go back in there, because when I wet my brush, you're supposed to take the excess moisture out. I keep forgetting. That's okay. So I'm going to get my other slightly bigger brush, get all the moisture out of it. Well, I didn't get all the moisture out of it, but that's okay. Okay. I like that. I think I like that. It's coming up okay, and I'm going to add super duper bright white. That's the back of the lighthouse. And I'll pop a little tiny blob up there just to show that. I might even go back onto the sky for a second. I'm going to strengthen up some of the fronts of these clouds. Just a little bit. And get my little tiny brush, my little blending brush, and just do circular motions along the tops. Like that. A little bit up here. I can take that up there. I'm just going to grab maybe a little one. Yes, I had a set of makeup brushes. This one's sort of more like a sponge, but I'm just going to try and soften that. Whoops. Might have made a little bit of a mess of that, but that's okay. Grab the other one. Go back to that one. Blend it out. That's better. I've got to be able to just put a bit of water on the brush to soften that out a bit. Just a little bit. And I'll just drag it out in a few different directions just to take it over behind here too. So it doesn't look like it's just sort of starting at the lighthouse. It can be coming all the way around. There we go. That's looking okay. Grab a little bit more of the dark. Take that up in there. that, and up at the very top, super duper dark. Just going to blend that out a little bit. So I've got my darkest darks against my lightest lights. Like that. Might add a bit of that dark up there as well. This top right hand side. Just to blend it out over there. Might pop a little bit more behind here. Okay, I think I'm happy with that. Oh, bit of hair there. Clean my brush. Righto, I've just got to add the teeniest, tiniest little bit back, that little beacon that I lost right there. Like that. Righto, I think that looks pretty cool. I reckon I'm going to sign that and call it done. So I'm going to sign it down here, right in that bottom corner. Just put 22, and that is done. So thank you so much for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this little acrylic seascape. It was lots of fun to try and do. Yeah, I'll be back with more videos. Click like and subscribe. Click on the bell icon. That way you'll be notified when I release a new video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all next time. Okie doke. See you then.